Okay, so take two of pushing out this stem. We've got a 20-ton press here. I haven't got any heat into it, but let's give it a go. I'll bottom out in a minute, I think. Yeah.
Probably knock out now, to be fair. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, great. So she's pushing out nicely.
So hands got a circlip in there. Just need to push it out of the circlip.
Ah, there you go. Look at that. There is a circlip in there. There was talk of a circlip, but I couldn't see it anywhere. Fantastic. Okay, so just finally pushing it out now. Come on. There she goes. Great. Perfect. Now we can think about trying to get another one back in. Don't know the way you're holding that.
Got my shaft.
So we pressed out the stem from the bottom yoke, which is great, and now we're going to make our own. Now there's things to consider here. First things first is what you're going to make it out of. Now, you know, I don't know anything about metal. I can tell the difference between aluminium and steel, but that's about it. So I looked online and there's lots of people talking on all these forums telling you all sorts of different things, and it doesn't make any sense to me at all. So what I did is went down to a little engineering shop, found a very, very helpful man, thank you very much, whoever you were, and explained what I wanted to do, and he said, yeah, this is what you want to use. And for those of you that are interested, that's what it says on the spec sheet. Now the other thing he said about this was, it's incredibly hard, and my little lathe is really going to struggle with it. And he also said that I'm going to blunt every bit that I've got on it unless I get some cooling device fitted. So I'm going to have to get some sort of a cooling system on the lathe. However, me being me, I'm going to try machining it anyway. I'll blunt a few bits and then I'll think about fitting up a little pump with a little sort of fluid thing to cool it down. So, other things to consider. Making the stem. That's the old one. These fork legs are a bit shorter than the ones that came off the bike, so I need them sitting as low as possible, which means my top yoke has got to be, you know, as close to the top as I can get it. Now if I have the top yoke as close to the top as I can get it, if you look, you can see the difference in the colour here. That's the top size, then it chamfers up, and then this is the bottom size, which means my bottom yoke, if I had it as high as I could possibly have the bottom yoke, the distance between the two, 205 millimeters from the top of the top one to the top of the bottom one. Now this doesn't make sense, honest, trust me. I don't know whether I can get that distance between the two. The only way I think I might be able to do it would be if I had the bottom bearing sitting up a little bit higher than it originally did. So imagine this is the old yoke, that's the bit the press is in, and then the bearing sat up around about here, and what I might have to do is sit my bearing up just a tad higher to make it actually fit. So I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. Now basically this is a bit of metal. The other thing he said was this is a solid bar. It's going to take a lot of work. He said as long as I keep the wall size similar to what that is, and that looks around about sort of 4 mil maybe to me, but I'll measure it just to see. He says that bit will be fine for a high stress part that the headstock is. So the basic shape of it is the bit that presses in to there. This is 35mm. This is 35 point something or other. I can't remember exactly what it is. Then there's a small section here. This is where the lower bearing fits, and then we want to go in a little bit to where the upper bearing fits. Now the reason you want to go in is so you don't have to force the inner race or you know the inner part of the bearing all the way down a shaft. You want it to force it over the top, slide it down, and then force it into here. And then at the top we're going to have a thread, and we're going to have the same size thread going all the way up rather than having two different size threads as on this one. So we'll give it a go as always, and I'll be probably doing another video in a little while when I've got loads of blunt bits, everything's overheated and burnt out, and I'll be showing you how to fit a cooling system on a lathe. Reasonable size cut. It's going to take a long time though. Okay, the shaft is made, nearly. It looks great. It's cut down really well actually with my lathe. I haven't drilled a hole in the middle of it yet. That's going to be the hard bit, but we'll worry about that later on. I have two outer bearing sizes, one here, goes down a little bit here. I have the other bearing size here, and then down in there is the bit that gets pressed in. Everything's measured up great. Now at the top end of here we need a thread. So this will be where our thread stops. I'm going to cut it all the way down here. Now it's going to be too long, but I'll cut it down to length afterwards. Now we're going to try cutting the thread on the lathe. We managed to find all of the we've got to do a 1.5 thread, which means mucking around with all of these gears, putting the right gear on, which I've managed to find, which is superb. Put these levers in the right place. And we should be able to cut a thread into here. 1.5mm pitch, and it's around about, well I say roundabout, it is, funnily enough, it's 27.6mm outer, which is a very, very strange size, which is why we've got to do it on the lathe and not get ourselves a die and do it with a die. Now the reason I'm doing it to this side, might seem very strange, I know, I really like this nut, and this is off the old BMW and I want to reuse it, and it might look a bit odd on our top yoke, but I just really like it. So we're going to try this, see how we get on. First thing I've got to do is cut this down to the outer size, which is, it's down at 28mm at the minute here. I've got to take it, it's exactly 28mm, I've just got to take it down to 27.6 in the first instance. I've ground down it's one of the old cutting dies actually, so I've ground this down. This has got the right, yeah, you won't see it, I won't focus on it. It's got the right angle on it for the thread itself. So let's try, see what happens. What can possibly go wrong? Got to talk over here because the lathe is so noisy. A couple of the gears are a bit dodgy in it, to be fair. So when the back gear's engaged, it's a bit noisy. But I'll try and make enough noise over it. So I made one pass at it. Got loads of cutting oil on there. I know exactly where I am here. 41 increments in 1mm. All I have to do is wait for that to hit the point and then re-engage the lathe. we made it. So it all worked nicely. It's a bit glary, that, isn't it? So we now have a thread cut on the end. Nice. No play at all in the nut. Yeah, fantastic. So really, now all I've got to do is get this bit pressed back into the bottom yoke, and I can fit this onto the bike. Oh, how exciting. So the circlet's back in, so it'll stop it pushing all the way through, and we're just going to try pushing it back down into the yoke. Okay, so the head stock is done and fits fantastic. And you can see it's starting, the look that I'm looking for is sort of starting to emerge now out of the bike. Which is great. It's great. Look at that. She's going to look mint, I'll tell you. So things to do still. Things to do. Well, loads, to be honest. But we've still got to finish all of this off. So press the stem in. Fantastic. And these lower yokes on here, great. Now on the top end, top yoke side of things, I quite like the Kawasaki one, to be honest. It's like a big slab of aluminium, but it's no good because the top end of the fork legs on the Kawasaki are a lot smaller than these ones, so it wouldn't work. So we're gonna make our own, yeah, or we're gonna try making our own, as always. Try stuff. Don't know until you try, do you? We've got a lovely big bit of tool and aluminium here. I'm just going to bolt it on like that. Fantastic. Other things to do, lock stops. To sort the lock stops out, obviously. And the last little bit at the top end is here. I didn't drop the bearing in the end. I just mounted it naturally where it sat. To be honest, it's a lot better doing it this way, I think. I have lost, because at the minute the fork legs, they're at their maximum extension downwards, and I've lost about sort of 6 mil or so, but I'm not worried about 6 millimeters. I'm sure that'll be fine. But what I am going to do, on the Kawasaki there was a seal there for the bottom bearing. The BMW one has a metal seal that's already up onside there anyway, so I'll just make a little something. There's no load or stress on it. I'll just make a little something in there just to make it look a bit more natural, which is great. I do also want to fit a steering damper somewhere, just a little one, not big showy thing, just somewhere, just so it's got one on it. So we'll think about that at a later date as well. Well, not at a later date, this is all going to be done around this sort of time. But she's looking great. So far so good. Yeah, she's looking fantastic. So the next video is going to be me attempting to make a top yoke for it. And just finishing off those last few little bits. Got to make the wheels fit as well. I had the same problem with the forks, spacers and not spacers, sorry, spindle sizes, bearing sizes, and there is no way of matching bearings to make them fit. So we're going to have to make our own up, not bearings up, but we'll just make some. We'll just make the old spindle fit. Would be the best bet. But I'm not expecting that to be too much of like hard work. Not compared to what we've done so far anyway. So this is it. This is as far as we've got.